All right, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday evening, or we could call it a Friday Eve social. I see lots of folks in the chat talking about they are tired. We've got lots of folks putting in lots of hours. It's been really hot in a lot of places. We here in Colorado had a heat wave over the weekend. And then it cooled down and rained for a little bit during the week, but the temperatures popped back up again today, and I think they're going to be up again for the weekend. And the heat is just exhausting. So hopefully you have a nice big glass of water with you. For all our folks who are tired, a lot of times being tired can be a symptom of being dehydrated, especially if it's really hot. So grab that water. If you have anything with like maybe some electrolytes in it, I would encourage you to kind of sprinkle that in. I think it's called Ulta. Is it Ulta or Ultra? There's like a crystal little electrolyte kind of powder that you can put in, which is really, really good and can kind of help with balancing things out when it's just super hot. And honestly, when it's really hot, I know a lot of us try to avoid sugar as much as possible, but sometimes sugar actually is necessary when it's really hot, which is hence that sweet tea down in the South, right? A lot of times your body just needs that extra energy because it's just a little rough. So hopefully you'll be able to hang with us tonight. I know some people were saying they were falling asleep during like one of the coloring socials. Like, I get it, totally get it. So do your best to hang with us. If you've got a nice fan blowing on you, that would be good as well. Some nice ice in your glass. And yeah, and Marcy's saying I'm just going to listen tonight, right? I'm not maybe going to be doing a lot of talk in the chat. So that is absolutely fine. You can hang out, you can work on your pages. If the pages, for whatever reason, don't resonate with you tonight, or maybe they're too much, do some coloring and just hang out with us, right? Just be with us here for an hour. You do whatever you need to do. If it's talking in the chat, if it's just being here with friends, right? That's what we're here for. So sometimes that's helpful. So for those of you that don't know me, my name's Maya, and I am here in Denver, Colorado. It was definitely warm today. So I think it's going to be warm again tomorrow. So we're just gonna keep going. I'm down in the basement now where I have my office, so it's kind of a little walkout basement, so it's not too hot down here. So that's good. But so couple little housekeeping tips. We want to make sure to set our chat to everyone so that folks can see what you're saying. If you don't make sure that it says everyone in that little blue box, it often has a tendency to switch back to host and panelist. And if that happens, the only people that can see it are myself and my fabulous co-host, Katie. She will be helping out in the chat, kind of keeping an eye. If anybody has any questions or needs anything, you can ask her in there. So make sure that it says everyone. Zoom has a really obnoxious tendency to flip back and forth, and so it will sometimes you'll set it to everyone, you'll type something in there, and then a few minutes later you go to type something in and it's flipped back to host and panelist. So just know it's obnoxious and just a thing that we have to kind of take a look at, right? Then some other community guidelines, because we want to make sure that this is a safe and inclusive space for everyone who is here. So we just ask that you're kind and you're courteous to both yourself and others. So no promotions or spam. We respect everyone's privacy, no hate speech or bullying. We limit those repetitive product and accessory questions. The best place to ask about washi tape and stickers and pins is really in Sonder Club, because then folks can give you pictures and links and those kinds of things. And then any of those customer care inquiries, like changing your billing address, changing your billing method, if you haven't gotten a journal yet, those all go to hello@silkandsonder.com. Katie and I don't have access to your account, so we can't check on anything or fix anything for you. So email all of those to our headquarters, hello@silkandsonder.com. Just be sure you give them a little bit of time to respond. They are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 on the Pacific Coast time zones. So just keep that in mind when you ask them a question. And then ultimately, remember, these socials really are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. And we have a fabulous community here. And I see a lot of our folks are reaching out in the chat to one of our members who is having a hard time, right? Has lost someone and is kind of struggling a little bit. So I love our supportive chat that keeps going. Just know we do record these, but we don't share the chat. So the chat is unique to the live event, but you can always watch one of these events later if you want to be able to work on some of these pages at a separate time. And then these socials are tools to help elevate the community, like I said, with this elevate your health through the power of community, but you're responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions. So again, if there's anything we're working on that just isn't your jam, and these pages are going to be maybe a little deep, a little intense. And so if it's not quite hitting you tonight, do what you need to do, right? Do whatever, even if it's just sitting back and just kind of taking a deep breath and sipping on a cool drink. And maybe you're in the chat, maybe you're not. Do what you need. This is your time, right? There's no right or wrong way to be here. This is your time. So this month, we have been digging into this idea of purpose. For some people, this has been really enlightening and very empowering to really think about what a sense of purpose is, what their purpose is, what that feels like. For some of us, maybe it's been a little bit of a struggle. We're not quite sure what purpose means. We're not sure what that is. I see some folks in the chat saying that this month has been challenging. And you know what? That's okay, right? Sometimes these themes challenge us, and I think sometimes those are the good ones to really kind of lean into and say, why is this challenging for me? How can I take a look at it? And sometimes we look at it and we're like, you know what, I just can't, right? Like I just can't right now. It's too much. And that's okay, right? You can pick a different word and just know that we don't have that many more days until it's time for a new theme anyway. So, and then for other people, it's very empowering. It's very motivating and encouraging. So I love that. And I love to see and hear from different people how the theme resonates and what that looks like. And sometimes purpose is just getting up in the morning, right? And getting out of bed. Sometimes it's I took a shower today. My purpose was to be able to connect with someone, and so I come to these socials and I talk in the chat, right? So I appreciate those of you who have been powering through, and if you were powering through with the theme, or if you had to set the theme aside and just kind of be here and work on these pages, it's beautiful, right? And this is really all about learning who we are and learning more about ourselves, and sometimes learning more about ourselves through others and how others see us. And Jenny's saying in the chat, I think connection is the key. And I think that's 100% right. We have this common thing, the journal. We have a common theme, purpose, but we're all approaching it differently, and we're all at different stages of our life. So I really appreciate that folks have been willing to lean into it, or also willing to set it aside and maybe look at it later, right? That's absolutely okay. And just know, what is it? We have 4 days left of the month, and then it will be a new theme. So, and I won't spoil it in case you haven't gotten July's journal yet, but there will be a new theme. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to do a little opening activity to get you kind of warmed up. I shouldn't say warmed up because a lot of people are dealing with the heat, to get you ready. And then we're going to work on the purpose journaling prompt on page 14, and we're going to work on strengths and weaknesses on page 21. So for our opening activity, I want you to find maybe a blank page in your journal. I want you to find, you could, a little like the scratch pad in one of the weeks. You could find just like a little blank space. You could find some scratch paper if you have a different journal. You can kind of write on that. And we are going to do my life's movie or book starring my purpose, right? And again, if you haven't really thought about purpose and it hasn't been there, that's okay. You could just do my life. My life is a movie, my life is a book. So we're going to let you pick either you want to focus on it being a movie or a book, right? Or it could be both, right? Books get turned into movies all the time. So first you're going to come up with a title, right? So if your life centered around your purpose, if your life centered around a purpose was a movie or a book, what would its title be? So you're going to pick a title for your movie or your book. And if book is too much or movie is too much, maybe this is a chapter, right? And then you're going to think about your main character, which is going to be you. So when you're truly aligned with your purpose, what kind of protagonist are you? Describe this version of yourself in just a few words. And then you're going to come up with your logline or your tagline. So if your life's movie or book had a short, punchy tagline that captures your purposeful journey, what would it be? So I'll give you just kind of some examples as you think about this. Maybe for the title, it's your quest for blank. Maybe it's your quest for connection, your quest for commonality, your quest for coolness, right? Right now, cool weather. Or then maybe it's some sort of journey of you, right? So it's the amazing journey of you, it's the purposeful journey of you, it's the challenging journal of you, something like that. Or maybe it's the chronicles of something with a mission, right? So the chronicles of a teacher with a mission, right? I know we have a lot of educators that are here with us. Or maybe there's just some sort of catchy phrase about your purpose, right? To do that for your title. And then for your main character, maybe you're the compassionate healer, the innovative problem solver, the fearless advocate, the joyful connector, the resilient dreamer. Maybe for some of you, it's the tired but persistent whatever that you are, right? Kind of thinking about this. And then maybe that tagline is she knew her purpose and the world would never be the same. Or she wasn't just living, she was on a mission. Or one nurse, a big purpose and a story you won't forget, right? Something along those lines are kind of fun to think about. So when I was thinking about mine, I was kind of coming up with some different things. So what I came up for this with for this was the title of my maybe it's a movie. I haven't quite decided if I want to do a movie or a book yet, but Adventure Awaits, Maya's Journey of Creativity and Connection. So if you've been with me before, you know Monday is my last day at my job that I've been at for 16 years, and I'm working on finding something else. And so I feel like this is an adventure that's opening up for me. And I want it to be this journey of creativity and connection. And my main character, who is me, the enthusiastic explorer driven by curiosity and a zest for life. My mind is eager for new experiences, and I navigate my journey with optimism and grace. And then my tagline would be uncovering joy, embracing adventure, creativity, and connection. So those were kind of my ideas. And I see some folks are kind of popping some different kinds of things there in the chat. So I'm going to let you think about this. I'll cycle through these slides so you can kind of think about it. Think about what you want your movie or your book to be. It's funny, I actually had an interview yesterday with another district, and one of the interview questions was, with this new chapter in your life, what would your chapter be called? And I was like, oh, that's so funny, because I'm doing this activity here tonight about the title of my movie or my book. So it's kind of a fun way to think about things. So maybe if you think of it in a book, maybe you don't want to title the whole book, but maybe you want to title this chapter of your life right now. And yes, you are doing this anywhere on a blank page or scratch paper, sticky notes, anywhere in your journal that you have a little bit of space. All right. So I'll play a little bit of music. I will be quiet. Please feel free to share in the chat if you have your title or describe your main character, or if you've come up with your tagline for your movie or your book. And then we'll check back in here in just a few moments. So my mouse wasn't working there for a second. I love everyone's coming up with all of these fun titles, and I really appreciate how you're coming up with describing yourself as the main character, right? The emotionally compassionate helper, the gentle warrior of grace. What else was I seeing in here? I was just going to kind of look. Some of these: a fighter, an advocate, and a warrior. She never gives up. She came out of the darkness of societal rules to dance to the tune of her own inner rhythm. What else do we have? Learning and spiritual growth. Oracle reader, learning how to heal and love herself. One lady's quest for balance, adventure, and connection. The journey to peace is one bumpy flight. I love these. I enjoy some of them are the chaotic life of a mom of teens. I do not have children myself, but I have many nieces and nephews, and I know that my sisters and brothers dealing with their kids, I get to hear a lot about the teenage years, and I know I myself as a teenager was not super fun for my mom, I'm sure. So I appreciate all of you who are handling those teens. Um, the learning grower, I like that. The persistent teacher. Oh, I like this as the persistent teacher as she works in a man's world in construction. Um, I love that. That is great. And while fending off all the gender slams, she works her way through her own learning to end up teaching so many in construction across the nation. I love that. These are great. From patriarchal disempowerment to empowered goddess of the mystery. These are fabulous, you guys. These are awesome. So keep working on these if you have them. Maybe this would be fun to even design either like a movie poster, or you could design a book cover, kind of write some of those things out, because you have some great ideas. Writing the waves of passion in the cosmic soup of the universe. So fun. um just all sorts of fun, different, living my best life with me in mind. These are great. So nice job with these. And I think this is just kind of fun. I saw some people starting to go to the who would play them in the movie if they were going to do the movie. So that's a next step that you could always do as you were working on this. So thank you all for playing along and writing your life as a movie or a book starring your purpose. And sometimes that can be a fun, playful way to think about purpose. So very nice work, everyone. So let us go into our journal. On page 14, there is the purpose journal prompts. We have 2 different prompts here, and so we'll dig into them. Maybe one at a time. Like we'll talk about one and then let you work on that, and then we'll do the second box. So the first one, you want to list your core values and explain why they matter to you. So how many of you have actually spent some time thinking about what your core values are? I don't know that we always think about them. I think they're always there, but I don't know that we always name them or think about them. So, yep, some people are saying, me, I have, yep, perfect. But if you haven't, don't worry, right? If you're like, oh, I don't know, I hadn't really thought about that. Heather's saying loyalty is a big one with her. And yeah, if you have our Sonder coaching app, you can always ask Jenny, your life coach, to see if she has some ideas for that. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to play a little bit of music as you're thinking about this. What are your core values and why are they important? So for me, definitely humor is a very important core value. I like to have fun. I like to kind of laugh at things. I like to laugh every day. I think life is kind of too short to take things super seriously. Not that I can't be serious, but I think there's a lot of humor in life. There's just a lot of funny things if you just let yourself see the humor in them, laughing at yourself. I laugh at myself all the time, the goofy things that I do. And so to me, that's important, again, because it makes life more interesting. It makes it fun. It makes me happy. It makes me kind of lighten up and lighten the mood and those kinds of things. So as you're writing in that top box, you can write out as many core values that you can think of. You can share in the chat what those are, and then really think about, why are those important? Why are those things why are those values important to you? So I'll play a little bit of music, let you work on that, and then we'll check back in and keep moving on. Okay, nice job with looking at and thinking about those core values. I see lots of things showing up in there like creativity, fairness, knowledge, autonomy, respect, like authenticity, stability, spirituality. What else is there here? Balance. A lot of folks were saying balance, acceptance, altruism, fairness, empathy. Um, let's see what else is in here. Knowledge, connection, ambition. So this is great. And if you do have, I saw several of you mentioning the life coach and having that program that you've signed up for and that you've been using, Jenny, the life coach, and those kinds of things. In that program, there is the library of classes that you can go to, and there is one on understanding and defining your core values. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, make sure that you pop in there. And I think I'm trying to remember how you get to it really quickly for those of you that have it. But if you go into the website and you go into, there's an explore, and there's a content library. So it's in the content library. And if you look down, there's all sorts of awesome things in the content library. But if you go down a little bit, there's a core values workshop. And I think it's about, how long is it? About 33 minutes to watch. And so if you haven't had a chance to do that and you're still kind of thinking of what these are, that's a great opportunity to do that. So great job really kind of thinking about those core values and then really thinking why they're important to you. They make you feel good about yourself. They make you feel good about other people. They challenge you. They make you proud, kind of acknowledging your humanity. I love that, all of those different pieces. So the other thing is, so then the next box is asking us to consider how living in alignment with these values can help fulfill our purpose. So as you think of that, I wanted to give you some different ways to kind of frame this, some different ways to look at how you would fill out this box. So maybe if you consistently acted on a specific core value or a specific set of values in your daily life, how would it change your interactions, your work, or your decisions? And I'm not saying you're not living within your core values right now. I'm just saying, like, if you were really intentional about it, right? What kind of ripple effect would that create in your life and in the lives of others? How does that ripple effect align with the positive change or the impact you aim to make in the world? So, for example, your purpose. So, for example, if compassion was a core value and your purpose was to help vulnerable communities, living compassionately might mean advocating for policies, volunteering time, listening empathetically to those in need, which all of those would fulfill that purpose to help those communities. So that's one way to kind of approach this box to write about how living in alignment with the values can help you fulfill your purpose. The other thing you could think of is describe your ideal day as if you were living fully in your purpose. Be very specific about your activities, intentions, and feelings. So you kind of describe what your day looks like if you were living within your purpose, right? And then go back through your ideal day. Where do you see those core values showing up? How are they guiding your actions, your choices, and your relationships throughout the day? And how does this daily alignment contribute to the overarching purpose that you are living? So really thinking about this, maybe you could also think about an obstacle that you faced related to your purpose and how leaning on those core values have helped you. I see Tanya saying, I'm in graduate school now to become a social worker as part of living my core values. So I love that. And so really kind of thinking about how living in alignment with that helps with that purpose. So if you lean on your core values, so if something like resilience or integrity or perseverance, how would leaning on those help you overcome an obstacle or approach it differently? How does overcoming this challenge guided by your values contribute to the realization of your overall purpose? And then the important thing is, remember, values are not just ideals. The hope is that our values are practical tools for purposeful living. And I know that for myself, when I am feeling very out of balance, when I am feeling very frustrated, when I am feeling very irritable or out of sorts, oftentimes I find that I'm not living up to my core values. I'm not incorporating those either in my daily life or in my work, right? And really kind of thinking about these values are that practical tool. So I like this quote that said, "My definition of success is when your core values and self concept are in harmony with your daily actions and behaviors." So think about those things, right? You've got that second little box that you're going to fill in here about how living in alignment with these values can help you fulfill your purpose. And I gave you some different takes that you can have on this as you look at that, and feel free to share in the chat kind of what you're thinking as you work on this next little box. And again, I'm going to play some music and let you work on that. Feel free to share in the chat kind of what you're thinking when you think of using incorporating those core values and living in alignment with those values. Or maybe sometimes it's easier to think about, what does it feel like when you're not living in alignment with those values? What kinds of things happen? So we'll play a little bit of music and we'll check back in. right. Lots of thinking in the chat. I really appreciate that a lot of you are saying, like, gosh, I don't, this is kind of hard. Like, I'm not sure. I'm still not, I mean, I know what my values are, but I'm not 100% sure how living in alignment helps me with my purpose. And that's okay, right? Sometimes this doesn't come to us instantly, right? Some of these prompts are really easy and the writing flows. And then other times it's like, I think I'm going to need to sit with this for a little while. And so I was saying, sometimes this is like a shower thought time where, when you're in the shower and you can't be doing anything else but taking a shower. Oftentimes that's when the thoughts tend to flow. Or if you're in a spa, or maybe free floating in a nice cool pool, maybe you have a swimming pool or something, you could maybe go and float in and kind of think. And yeah, some people are like using like the chat GPT, plugging in values and asking the questions, right? That is very helpful. If you've got Jenny, our life coach companion, you can plug those in there, like, these are my values, and how can living in alignment with those values help me with my purpose, right? And sometimes that can give you some really good thoughts. Or sometimes just sitting around and chatting with friends, right? Kind of talking about values, and maybe watch like some sort of find a good movie, something with maybe some controversy or something that's good to spark conversation, and kind of talk about what was in the movie, and bring up a topic and kind of see how values come up and see how that plays into how you live your life. So thank you for spending a little bit of time thinking about that. Again, it's a meaty topic, right? And we throw it in here at the end of the month for you to think about, but you can bring this on into next month too as you think about it, and dig a little bit deeper. So speaking of digging deeper, we're going to go into page 21, where we're going to start thinking about our strengths and our weaknesses. And I want to make sure to emphasize, this is not a time when we are putting ourselves down, we are thinking how we're not good at things. It could very easily spiral into that, and I don't want that to happen, right? Everybody, remember, we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, and so this is just an opportunity for you to think of that. So if you want to, you could start with your top 10 weaknesses and then do your top 10 strengths. I like that Andrea is saying, my mentor calls it strengths and needing development, right? Or so areas that you want to develop, areas that you want to work on. Maybe there's some areas that have been neglected that you would like to start paying attention. Yes, Brenda, opportunities, right? You could scratch out that weaknesses word and write in opportunities, or any of those kinds of things that you have. Oh, I love that. Carly's saying a weakness is wanting to do all things at once. Yes, I think I have that one too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play just a little bit of music, but I want you to kind of think about these strengths and weaknesses in these different categories, right? So you can think broadly, like maybe it's technical skills, like software proficiency or coding or something like that, or fixing a car, right? I'm definitely not good at mechanics. Or maybe you're really good at the mechanics part. Maybe it's some soft skills like communication or teamwork or problem solving. Maybe there's some personal qualities like resilience or determination. And just remember, we all have strengths and weaknesses, or opportunities or challenges. And definitely, Katie's saying, like, this is one of those job interview thing where they talk about what's your top strength and what are your weaknesses. Yeah, and 10 is a lot. So maybe you want to start out with 5. Maybe you want to start out with 3, right? You don't have to fill in every line. And then remember, sometimes when you've been tested, when things are not going well, when things are, when you're struggling a bit, that's not really to show a weakness, but a chance for us to discover our strengths. So I'm going to play a little bit of music. I'm going to let you can do your top 10, you can do your top 5, the weaknesses or the strengths. And then we'll check back in and we'll do the next piece. All right. So I will let you work on that and then we'll check back in. All right. I know that wasn't a ton of time to think of those, but again, I think you were doing a good job. Folks are doing a really good job in the chat, kind of thinking about some strengths or maybe finding ways to connect with others. What else do we have? We have some different kinds of things. I like some people are kind of talking about the different. Sometimes the strength is a weakness, or vice versa, kind of depending on the situation. A strength could be organized, strength could be compassion. Those types of things. You can keep working on that, but I do want you, as you start to come up with these, I want you to think about one of your weaknesses that is now a strength. So something that maybe was a weakness before, or in the past, and now you've turned that into a strength. So I will tell you that in most of my younger days, public speaking was definitely a weakness. I was horrible at it. I would fumble around. I could not talk in front of a group. And now, and because I really wanted to get better, I worked on it a lot. I took a lot of public speaking classes. I, just did a lot of work in that area. And so now I feel like it is definitely one of my strengths. And then one of my weaknesses that I'd like to make a strength. So we're going to think of one of those weaknesses that we have and think about how we would like to make it a strength. So I would say mine is a weakness of mine is I am not a fan of accepting feedback on myself, which I mean, I'm fine when it's good feedback, but when it's constructive feedback, or perhaps I construe it as a criticism, I can get very defensive. And so I try really hard to avoid that. And so I've been working really hard to try to take incorporating feedback and accepting feedback of all kinds into what I do. So keep working on those strengths and weaknesses, and then really think about what was a weakness that you had that is now a strength, maybe something if you think back. And then is there one of those weaknesses that you listed that you would like to work on making a strength? So I will let you work on that. We'll play a little bit of music and then we'll check back in, and believe it or not, we'll wrap things up because we're almost to the end. Okay, well, thank you for sharing in the chat. And I love that a lot of you are really wanting things you're wanting to work on, maybe working on communicating better with your partners, working on maybe deciding where to draw the line in that oversharing. I think sometimes that can be tricky because you want to be vulnerable with people, you want to be transparent with people, but sometimes it bleeds into that oversharing piece. So what does that look like for you as you work on these things? So these are great things, especially right now. Kind of we are going to be at the middle of the year, right? We half the year will be behind us and half will be in front as we look forward. So I think this is a great time to really kind of think about these um, weaknesses and strengths, or these opportunities and our strengths and things we're good at, and really kind of think about what that looks like as we move forward. So thank you all so much for sharing in the chat. And I know these are always the fastest. I don't know how an hour goes so fast when I'm with you all. And if I'm trying to do really boring work, or I'm on a treadmill or something, the hour can last forever. But believe it or not, we are at the end of our time together. So please feel free, if you would like, to share any of your pages in Sonder Club. We do love to see what you're working on. And sometimes someone seeing what you're working on will inspire them to tackle these pages. And again, these pages were tougher, right? These were some harder things to work on. So kudos to you for sticking with it and being with us here. And especially for those of you who are tired, and I know you've probably had a long day, and so this was kind of a little mentally challenging for you as well, but you are here, you got through it, and I'm so glad that you did, and so glad you spent that time with us. I do want to mention we do have the 24/7 personalized life coach, and I will tell you there's going to be a pretty cool special coming up that we will share in. We're going to do we have some weekly setups, and believe it or not, we have some monthly setups. I think Katie's going to do a monthly setup tomorrow night for July. So we've got a monthly setup tomorrow. We've got some other weekly setups. There's going to be an opportunity for you to get, if you don't have the online coaching program yet, you'll be able to do that for 2 weeks for free to try it out and see what that looks like. So we'll get you that information. So feel free to join us for any and all of the things we've got going on this weekend. Katie and I are going to be in several of them, alternating presenting and working here in the chat. And Bailey will be with us this weekend as well. So hopefully we will see you in one of those socials this weekend. So take care, everyone. Stay cool. And hopefully we will see you all again very soon. All right. Take